Welcome to a special edition of NeverEndingPanel.com.
I'm actually looking forward to this one.
Tonight we have with us a very special guest, Vladimir Killusov, who Eitan and I have...
Dude, I mean, this guy's just... This is one of the reasons I got into science fiction.
Can I do the introduction?
I know, but come on, it's Vladimir.
I know that you're excited. I know you've been talking about it all week, but I just want to get it going.
I can't even believe we got the guy.
Fine. Let me...
This is one of the guys, I mean...
Okay, enough.
All right.
He's heard it. So it's really about Eastern European science fiction. We have with us also tonight Martin Young, who is not only a professor of philosophy, many of you don't know, he also has another degree in Eastern European science fiction. Let me give you a brief bio of Vladimir's works.
And automotive repair.
And automotive repair, please excuse me. I'll just give you a brief introduction for those of you, and you're probably crazy if you haven't read Vladimir's work, but in 1980, Vladimir published, of course, most of us know this, Sputnik and Apollo, Partners in Fraud. He was, of course, an overnight sensation in the European theater, brought him notice in popular science fiction writer, guest speaker at lots of science fiction conventions, of course. But the novel that really put him on the map, I mean, he was obviously on the map in Eastern Europe, but in America, where Eitan and I finally discovered him, then went back, of course, and read all his other vast body of work, was Hiroshima Hoax, How America Fooled the World into Thinking It Had the Atomic Bomb. It released in 1985, worldwide attention, of course. Per his quote, I'm still working on my latest novel. I haven't yet figured out what will happen after the two-headed mutant and sex scenes arrive on the bus from Zagreb. I loved that novel, by the way, Mr. Killusov. Fantastic work. So let's just get down to it. Eastern European science fiction, it's the broad stroke, rightly forgotten or hidden gems.
Well, once you have mentioned me, there's nothing further to say. I am the most famous science fiction writer in Bulgaria. In fact, I am the only science fiction writer in Bulgaria.
But
in the rest of Eastern Europe, they have trouble writing dirty words on walls. And of course, of great importance is my latest novel. From here to the same place, but later. I will not drop the manuscript.
Wow.
Yes, it starts with the great Bulgarian scientist Gregor Goulash. He wants to build a rocket to reach Bucharest. He tests his rocket and it works great. Very fast. Results not so good for Bucharest. But there's nobody but Romanians in Bucharest. And you know what a bunch of bloodsuckers they are. So what the heck. But still, in Bucharest, there is a scientist who becomes quite annoyed. Not quite mad, just annoyed. His name, Lionel Lupescu. He develops a ray that turns Bulgarians into Albanians. You know how bad that is? When Albanians are around, no goat is safe.
This is going to be extremely controversial. Extremely.
No, insulting. I mean it to be insulting. No. I don't like these people. Albanians, terrible people. Romanians, not too good. And then we have some other developments, as you mentioned, the two-headed mutant sex fiends who take the bus from Zagreb.
I'm looking forward to that.
Right, because last time they didn't take it from Zagreb, they got lost, if you recall, in the first novel.
Yeah, after founding a swingers club in Zagreb, they get in big trouble, have to leave Croatia altogether, head for Bulgaria.
Well, were they lost, or was it simply that the entire of human society was lost around them, and they were the only ones that were really centered?
Eitan and I have a $50 bet wagered on this one.
I think the important thing is it exposes...
Confuse the issue quickly.
I think the important thing is that it exposes prejudice against two-headed mutant sex fiends.
Who look like goats.
Who look like goats, yes. The anti-ovine prejudice, the overtones in this work are stunning. And the undertones, too.
By the way, I just couldn't help doing it, but I did wear the 5 in honor of your famous Bulgarian work, and pardon me if I hack up the Bulgarians, the Mesnitn Biroshnina, which is, of course, the 5 of Speed, about the racer that everybody knows the Japanese, ripped off from you, of course. And I know that we were blatant plagiarism. I just wanted to just show you in honor of that, and even though it wasn't on tonight's panel. So, yes. Yes, absolutely. The Japanese have ripped you off, the Americans have ripped you off, but really, let's talk about what Eastern European science fiction means to the American writers. Of course, Heinlein, Bradbury, Asimov, Clarke, they all grabbed from famous Bulgarian works, mostly yours, of course.
Yeah, destruction was an Eastern European development. We ought to have copyrighted it, so all these other science fiction writers who keep destroying things ought to pay royalties to us. Because, yeah, we blow things up, but, that's not science fiction. That's, last Tuesday. But, in fact, some things like, domestic violence, very bad in your country. In Bosnia, with rocket-propelled grenades, domestic violence is very, very bad. After a while, you may not kill each other, but you sure destroy the house.
Is that where you came up with the concept of the domestically tame alien and the violent American?
Ah, that was a good one. The first version or the second version, the re-release?
Actually, I hate to say it, but I thought the French actually got a fairly good take in the movie.
Huh. I wasn't enamored of the movie. I don't think any of those movies have done his works justice.
Definitely.
No, the Lithuanians, they had an interesting perspective on sort, because nobody knows where Lithuania is even. So, the Lithuanians are...
Are you saying there really is a Lithuania? I thought you made that country up.
No. That WrestleMania I made up. Pennsylvania really exists, and so did Lithuania, Estonia,
Lithuania is where lithography.
Right,
of course.
I believe that was lithography was from your family, was one of the original inventors of lithography. Isn't that correct? That was in your bio, Vladimir. If I may call you that.
Certainly, anytime.
Thank you.
Call me Vlad.
Okay.
As long as you get, I'm not the impaler one.
Okay.
He was an unpleasant
I'll be
man.
glad to do that.
He was Wallachian.
Do not disturb Mr. Killusov with your puns, please.
I'm sorry.
Come on. It's just not. Be respectful.
But he had a number of puns we all know. And the sun is a harsh mistress, which Robert Heinlein obviously ripped off. So I just figured, since there were a number of puns in the sun is a harsh mistress, I would, just
only if you say them in the original Bulgarian.
Okay, I'll have to.
And sneer when you say it.
Yes. When we were on the panel last year at Worldcon talking about Vladimir's work in context of Eastern European history, it came up a number of times that we got some of those things wrong. But again, that's what the homage is. If we made it exactly, to your criticism, if we made it exactly like what was in his works, for example, the Lost Bus to Zagreb and The Sun is a Harsh Mistress, we would have been accused of plagiarism. So they were homages. I just wanted to bring that back up since you really pounced on me there at that last panel.
Yeah, so I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
I was just very passionate about that.
Yeah.
I was very, very passionate about it. So
We all are
If you
about
get
his
a
work.
word out of place, it infuriates me
Yeah.
because his works are actually highly structured prose poems that only really sound right in Bulgarian. And I
Well-
don't mean good Bulgarian. He doesn't
Well,
like...
but again, I gotta go. I looked at some of his work in French, and I don't know what it is. I'm not saying, by all means, if you're going to watch this in the original Bulgarian, read this in the original Bulgarian if you can possibly manage it. But if you got to go with a secondary language, forget English. There's something about their French, they just have a little take.
Everything sounds dirtier when you say it in French.
In fact, I think it's an advantage if you don't know French, if you can't read French or speak French, to read Vladimir's works in French. Because I did it once, and I tell you, it sounded absolutely filthy. I gave a public reading of one of his footnotes in a pub in Belgrade. And let me tell you, I was lucky to get out alive.
Well, that's his. I believe that's one of the most commented on YouTube videos on YouTube, actually, because it has driven women wild. That particular reading, Martin. So obviously, what he wrote and the way you really emoted it.
I'm not safe on the street anymore.
I don't
to
think
be
you
honest.
are,
I'm
my
not
friend.
safe.
I don't. Think
Nobody
you are.
is safe on the streets of Belgrade.
I'm talking about Los Angeles.
Oh, they're neither.
Okay, well, that about wraps up this segment of our special panel on, Eastern European science fiction. And so we would like to thank Vladimir for being here, and we will be returning very shortly after we have this awkward pause.